Good Shabbos, everybody. Today I want to talk to you about the Shabbat, specifically a few things that Yeshua has to say about the Shabbat. And this is one of those messages where anytime I speak about this subject matter, I'm going to have a group of people that are kind of glad about it, and I'm going to have a group of people that aren't so glad about it, and then I find myself in the middle, and I always hate being in the middle. So I thought I'd try to head that off the pass. This message today isn't about everybody. Excuse me, it isn't about anybody. It's about everybody. Okay? So I don't want anybody to get upset and think, Tom's talking to me. I'm talking to all of us, including myself here. This picture on the screen is downtown West Haven. If you go there right now where the post office is, all those buildings are pretty much, they're still, other than the Rivoli Theater, which is off to the right-hand side over there. Now, when I was a kid, I lived about 3.5 blocks from the Rivoli Theater. And every so often, my mom would allow me to go up to the Rivoli Theater to see a movie. I'd be about, 10 years old. My friend and I would go up there. And the reason why Sunday was the day to go to the Rivoli Theater was because West Haven pretty much shut down on Sunday. Back then, West Haven was a Catholic town, and the shops closed down. There was nobody walking around. And other than the Rivoli Theater itself being open, all the businesses were done, and there weren't even a lot of cars riding down Campbell Avenue back then. Now, in the year 2025, that's kind of changed a little bit. And I believe it's changed a little bit because of our subject matter today concerning the issue of Shabbat and how Yeshua views Shabbat. I think it's misinterpreted a little bit. And the title of our message today is Shabbat Restoration. The text is Mark 2:23 through 28. Let's read it together. Well, I'll read it. You don't have to read it with me. Now it happened on Shabbat that Yeshua was going through the grain fields, and his disciples began to make their way, plucking the heads of grain. The Parashim, the Pharisees, saying to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not permissible on Shabbat?" And Yeshua said to them, "Haven't you ever read what David did when he was in need? And he and those with him became hungry. How he entered the house of God when Abiathar was Kohen Gadol, and he ate the showbread, which is permitted only for the Kohen, to eat, and gave some to those who were with him." Then Yeshua said, "Shabbat was made for man, and not man for the Shabbat. So the Son of Man is Lord even over the Shabbat." So what does it mean when Yeshua says he is Lord even over the Shabbat? Imagine if I was to give you a kingdom, and I was to say you are in authority over that kingdom. Well, that's exactly what Yeshua is. He is in authority over Shabbat. So imagine that I gave you this kingdom, and this was not just any kingdom. This was an awesome kingdom. Everybody in the land was fantastic. The produce of the land was fantastic. Everybody did good things. There was just nothing bad about it. And I came to you and I said, "Here, take this. It's a special gift for you. I want you to be in authority over it." Would you then take that kingdom that I gave you, and would you run it into the ground? Would you lord over the people and collect high taxes on them? Would you make their life difficult? Would you make it so that they couldn't hardly live in the kingdom that I had so lovingly gave to you? I think not. And so it is when Yeshua says that he is Lord of the Shabbat. When he is Lord of the Shabbat, he is saying, I have authority over it, and I treat it well. I guard it. I keep it safe. I don't drag it around. I don't mistreat it. I do everything possible to keep the Shabbat well and good. In fact, I even take the Shabbat and I fill it and make it whole. But I don't mistreat the Shabbat. So if we are to be imitators of Yeshua, and Yeshua guards the Shabbat, should we not be thinking that we should be guarding the Shabbat as well? I would think that if we are imitators, that's where we should go with this. But the question would be, how do we guard the Shabbat? Now, I want you to keep into mind that the text that we're using here, when the Parashim point out this grain issue with his disciples, okay, it's really an issue of tradition, not Torah. You see, they're trying to make an assertion that Yeshua is allowing his disciples to eat on Shabbat and harvest. It falls under labor. And they're saying that their rabbis, whether it be Hillel, whether it be Shammai, or whoever, whatever sage it might be that they happen to fall under, that they're discussing this, and they're saying that this is an act of labor on Shabbat. And Yeshua is saying to them, don't you understand? Shabbat isn't here to handcuff them. My disciples were hungry. They needed to eat. And picking the heads of grain is not being part of the harvest. They were fulfilling a basic human need on Shabbat. And your authorities who are over you, who are telling them this, are wrong. I am Lord of the Shabbat. And I'm telling you that it is good. It is a good thing that they eat on Shabbat. So keep that in mind when we talk about how are we going to guard the Shabbat. First things first. There are intruders that try to take the Shabbat away. There's always an intrusion there. And you see, if somebody came and kicked the door down and then tried to take the Shabbat away from us, this would be a completely different message. That's not what happens. What happens far too often is we open up the door and we allow the intruder to come in. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the intruder is. You all know who the intruder is. Each one of us has an intruder, if not many intruders, that come through the doors of our home and little by little take a bit of the Shabbat with them and leave. And the problem is the more time we allow the intruders to come through the door, the more of the Shabbat we end up losing. And the more of the Shabbat we end up losing, that space is then filled with the secular. Because if the Shabbat is anything, it breaks the secular. It sets it apart someplace else. The Shabbat is this special time for all of us. And when we open up the door and we allow the intruders to come in, one day we're going to wake up and find that there is no Shabbat left for us anymore. All there is a space that's been filled up by the secular. Very little at a time, but eventually that's what's going to happen. So we must seek to do our best to try to not allow the intruders into our house. And if there have been intruders into our house, we must seek to go out and grab a piece of that Shabbat back from the intruders so that our Shabbat becomes whole once more. Take it away. They don't own the Shabbat. We own the Shabbat. Which brings us to the Shabbat was made for man and not man for the Shabbat. When I'm talking to people about the Shabbat, right about this time, somebody will quote this particular section right here to me. And what they really mean, not all of them, but many of them, what they mean is, Tom, you don't understand. The Shabbat was given to us. And if Shabbat was given to us, I can do with it whatever I please to do with it because it was a gift to me. But if we go back to the point of Yeshua being Lord over Shabbat and having authority over Shabbat, and we're supposed to be imitating Yeshua, and Yeshua guards the Shabbat, well, then we can't really do whatever we want with the Shabbat. We cannot pervert the Shabbat. We can't make it into something it's not meant to be. We should be guarding it too. We should be making it full too. So the question would be then, how do we guard the Shabbat? We focus first on mercy. That's the first thing we focus on. You see, we do not live in the tabernacle times. We don't live in the first temple times. We don't live in the second temple times. We do not have a priesthood. We're not even in the land. We're in Galut, and the Messiah has come. So the first thing we need to understand on Shabbat is we need to be mercy. We need to show mercy to those who do not fulfill the Shabbat the way we think they should be fulfilling the Shabbat. Instead, we should more concentrate on how we ourselves are dealing with the Shabbat and always be willing to show mercy to others. Second, we should first focus on doing what is right. Do what is right on Shabbat. When Yeshua says that my men, my followers, they need to eat on the Shabbat, he's making the Shabbat full. He's saying, I understand what you think about this idea of harvesting, okay? But their needs, their personal needs, take precedence over what you think. Doing right on Shabbat is always a good thing, and every one of us here today know at least the elementary things about Shabbat that are right and good, and we should strive to keep those things that are right and good. We shouldn't be doing something else. Human need. We should focus on human need. All of us here today have human needs. I've talked to you all at one time or another. I know many of you have needs that are on your heart even today. Shabbat should not be that thing that burdens the human needs. But we'll talk a little bit more about needs in a minute. Let's go over to the other side of the ledger here. Things that you should focus on not doing. Rigid legalism. That's the first thing. As I said, we do not exist in other times. We cannot fulfill the Torah the way it should be fulfilled in other times. So to think that somehow we could be so rigid in our approach to Shabbat, that not only dampens the Shabbat, but it makes us look like a fool because we end up picking and choosing and claiming that we are righteous before God because we are so doing the Shabbat so right. Rigid legalism. We should not be focusing on that on Shabbat. Things that oppose Shabbat. Okay. We should not be focusing on those things that oppose Shabbat. If we focus on mercy, doing what is right in human need, we are filling the Shabbat with all the good things that Shabbat should be filled with. Those are the things we should be focusing on. Right? That's filling up the Shabbat. To not focus on those things would be doing things that are opposed to the Shabbat. Human wants and consumerism. Let's put those two together between human need and human wants. If we know how to make the distinction between our needs and our wants, then we will be much better able to observe the Shabbat. But we must be able to call a want and a need. And there is a distinction between the two. We must not let our wants fill up the Shabbat, because we let our wants fill up Shabbat, that is a sure way to allow the intruder into the door to take a bit of our Shabbat away. Our needs should be fulfilled on Shabbat. Our wants can wait for the other 6 days. Some things to think about. All the commands introduce holiness into the world. Okay? But if you'll notice here, number 4, it's actually got holy in the name. Right? None of the other 10 have that. It literally has the word holy there. You shall keep the Shabbat holy. Right? 8 of the other ones are do not. This one is telling us do. Shabbat is an action. It is an action of filling it up to keep it holy. So we must engage in filling it up to keep it holy with all those things and so many other things that will make Shabbat so full and make the kingdom of God something into that it should be, rather than a millstone around our necks. One other thing to think about. I'm told lately that younger people don't feel the need for weekly synagogue observance. Problem with that is that attached to this Shabbat thing is that God says, make it a holy convocation. And by making it a holy convocation, it's given to Kol Yisrael. It's a corporate command given to all Yisrael, not to each one of us as an individual. It implies that there's a gathering to be had here. Oh, but not just any gathering, all right? This is actually, within the context, it's actually a formal gathering. It's not a come-as-you-are casual get-together. Right? And this is where I think a lot of the problem happens with that issue I talked about with West Haven and it not being the same on Sunday. And I know Sunday is not the Shabbat, but West Haven is a Catholic town, or used to be at least, and so it's shut down, so I'm referring back to it that way. Right? That's part of the problem with it, is that it's become, we haven't, what we've done is we've taken salvation, which is a come as you are thing. Yeshua says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy burdened, come to me. Right? He'll take you exactly where you are. Right? He can forgive you from no matter what you've done or where you're coming from. He can do that. Right? That's what he does. Right? That's salvation. But what I'm referring to concerning Shabbat, this is righteousness. This is how we act. And we tend to somehow carry over this idea of come as you are, God would meet you there, over into Shabbat, which is a different thing. It's about righteousness. And if it's about righteousness, it is about making it a holy gathering unto each other. It's not come as you are any way you want to come. It's not come when you want any way you want to come. It's not do what you want anytime you want to do it. It is a formal gathering of us every week. It is an honor even for us to gather every week. And somehow along the way, we have taken that idea of come as you are to Yeshua and then applied this to the righteousness of how we carry out the command of Shabbat. I think it needs to be undone. I'm hoping that everybody will undo it, all of us, because I think to some level we're all guilty of this to some level. So, in closing, 1, Shabbat is good for us. If there's anyone here today who finds Shabbat a burden, finding coming to a holy convocation a burden, I would ask you to step back and think a little bit, because then you're not experiencing the Shabbat properly if that's the case. That's not what Shabbat is about. Shabbat isn't a burden. Shabbat is that thing that opens up something very special for us. Shabbat is that thing that allows us to be so much more. Right? It allows us to glimpse into the future. It reminds us of the past, all in the same time. And if it's dragging us down, then we are not entering Shabbat properly. And thus we're not getting all out of Shabbat, all that we can out of Shabbat. And we start to blame the Shabbat when in reality it's how we're entering the Shabbat. Secondly, the Shabbat should be kept holy. The Shabbat was crown of creation. If the holidays are all holy and they are a wheel, then Shabbat becomes the hub of the wheel. Shabbat is the end of all things. Yom Shekalo Shabbat, the day that is all Shabbat. Okay? So when we look at it, Shabbat runs from the beginning right through to the end. It was holy in the beginning, it's holy in the middle, and it's holy in the end. So we should be keeping the Shabbat holy. And lastly, Shabbat is not about rigid legalism. That is the death of Shabbat. It is about loving engagement with the Most High and each other. When we enter into that loving engagement between the Most High and each other, well, then we can soar. We can enter a place that's much higher than this room. We can enter a place that is much closer to God on a day in which God has ordained for his day to have a meeting with us. We can do all those things if we decide to engage with one another and engage with the Most High. Say our prayers with kavanah. Do our acts that we do here with kavanah, intent. And we will enter that place much higher than we could even imagine. I got one last thing to say for Shabbat, and I'll let it go. I want everybody here to have a happy Thanksgiving and Shabbat Shalom.